All right, welcome back to the Ignite Your Marriage Seminar.
Amen.
And again, we thank God for Pastor Al and Noel. And for, come on, give a lot of hand clap for them for the great work. They definitely did pick some good topics. And we didn't get a chance to be here at the beginning of it. We just flying in. And but I know that they did a great job. And then we did get a chance to listen to Pastor Rick and Deborah. And of course did a wonderful job also. Good Lord, hand clap for them also. So we're glad to be here. And so the assignment that Pastor Alfred and Noel gave us to teach on was rendering due benevolence. And so we're going to kind of focus on that a little bit there. And I think that maybe once we teach this, it'll give you a little different perspective, maybe of what it means to do benevolence in those areas. Because of course, well, let's read it first, okay? Then we'll kind of get into things.
Well, before he reads it, because y'all know Pastor is a teacher.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's ready to get off right now. But I just want to thank Pastor Al and Miss Noel for having this. This is their first marriage conference. So they're doing a great job, and we're so glad that we are able to help participate. And I see that the title of this marriage conference is Ignite. Ignite. So I want to give you the definition of ignite. Ignite means to catch fire.
Yes.
Or cause to catch fire. Means to erupt, explode, arouse, kindle, trigger, spark, ignite, excite, and provoke. Dr. Craig was all that to me, and I to him. Praise God. So that's what ignites means. And I can put it in a sexual way also. We have to learn how to ignite the fire that's on the inside of us, because all of us have that fire. But we have to learn how to make it explode. We got to know which things to trigger, what not to trigger. We need to learn how to put the spark back in it. We need to learn how to ignite it.
Yeah.
So when it's that time to really get down, it'll be hot and sassy.
Yeah.
All right? Amen. So y'all don't get embarrassed about sex.
No.
Please don't get embarrassed about sex, because sex is God's idea.
Yes.
It's not the world's idea. And the reason why we're feeling these ways is because of sin.
Yeah.
And once we get sin out and get God in it, boy, it's going to be very good.
Yes. Amen.
All right. So think about that word ignite. Praise God. And don't forget about it.
Good.
All right, Doctor. Go on, teacher. Go on, teacher. You ready to teach?
I love it. I love it. That's why she's up here with me. Praise God. She's the igniter. Amen. Now, I want to just read a verse of scripture in the book of 1 Corinthians for a moment, and then we'll get into that. Then, of course, we got a lot of information, but the whole goal is we want to be able to high point the main things. Is that right?
Yes.
But this scripture here in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1 says, "Now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. The wife has not power of her own body, but the husband, and likewise also the husband has not power of his own body, but the wife. Defraud ye not one another, except it be with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency."
Amen.
Now, Bev has a different translation she's going to read for you, man.
Now, the topics you raised in your last letter, some has said, it is better for a man to abstain from having sex with his wife. Well, I disagree, because of our tendency to embrace immoralities. Each man should feel free to join together in sexual intimacy with his own wife, and each woman should join with her own husband. Husbands and wives have reciprocal duties. Each husband has a responsibility to meet his wife's sexual desires, and each wife should do the same for her husband. In the marriage, neither the husband nor the wife should act as if his or her body is private property. Your bodies now belong to one another, and together they are whole.
Amen.
So do not withhold sex from one another, unless both of you have agreed to devote a certain period of time to prayer. When the agreed time is over, come together again, so that Satan will not tempt you when you are short on self-control.
What now?
Amen.
Amen.
Wonderful. That's good, isn't it?
Amen.
Yeah.
Now, so this word do benevolence, I just want to just say that because it says really do benevolence. So I'm going to give this definition. It says do benevolence is a physical sex relationship that God created and instituted with Adam and Eve, and listen, that in a sinless state. It is not a part of sin or man's fallen nature. It is a holy establishment. Sex is a godly thing, meaning this, that if you're not careful, depending on your background and things like that, it's kind of like sex was a part of man's fallen nature. So every time we think about sex, we think about it from a negative connotation. But God introduced sex before Adam sinned. You follow me? And so, but and we're going to get this later on, is that until we can change our attitude about sex, it will never really, you're never really going to be able to enjoy sex in the marriage relationship. You follow me in those areas? But let me just read a few things. I'm going to go with this. It said that sex relationships is something that God created for sinless people to enjoy. It is not lust or carnality driving them. So a lot of times, most of our, depending on if you married as a virgin, but most people did not have that privilege. Sex was a part of lust or carnality driving us. So it's kind of like, if you're not careful and get into your marriage, it's almost the same. Now I thought about this right here earlier this week. I said, you know what, as I did some study on this, and that is that sex really is not a problem. It's what you bring into the sex that's in our bedroom that's the problem. And we're going to look at that for a moment. Because I've seen couples that had a good sex relationship that still got a divorce. You follow me? So sex is not really an issue. It is what you bring into the sex relationship that's really the issue. We're going to look at that on what's happening there. Because if my mindset is not correct, and my thought pattern concerning sex was tainted by maybe, like for me, you know, I think that, you know, sex began in the early teenage years, you follow me, and was always sneaking and doing it. Because the whole thought was it was wrong. Are y'all following me? Not the fornication, but that sex itself was wrong. You follow me? And so if you're not careful, you'll bring that into your relationship. If before you get married, you did not renew your mind concerning those things. You follow me in those areas. But the whole goal we look at today, number one, that God created it. And he created it not in man's sinful condition. He created it in man's pre-sin condition. Is that right? And so therefore, it should not be something we should be embarrassed to talk about. Is that right? We need to see sex something holy, and sex is something that is pure. Are y'all following? You know, I was studying this, and even they said that a lot of people, because of their, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, because I want to give the scriptures on that before we get into that. But in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 4, it even makes this statement. Hebrews 13:4 says, marriage is what? Honorable. Is that on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Marriage is what? Honorable, and the bed is what? Undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. So it says that marriage is honorable, and the bed, there's no defilement in the bed. There's nothing defile or bad about sex. It's honorable in the sight of God. So the whole goal is that the sex relationship will really increase if we can begin to approach sex in an undefiled manner. Recognize there's nothing defiled about sex. You know, the whole bed is honorable in the sight of God. Is that right?
Let me read it. It says, hold marriage in high esteem, all of you, and keep the marriage bed pure, because God will judge those who commit sexual sin.
Yes.
Sexual sin. See, God, He's going to judge those people, because He said for us to enjoy it. Marriage bed is undefiled, so therefore we can have good sex. And for us not to bring, because of our carnal mind before we got married, because of the carnal mind, our minds was like, well, I'm going to do what Jody did to me when I was going with Jody. And then you're going to bring that into your marriage. No, you can't bring that, because that's what they did. That was a carnal. But we have to learn how to get it the way God told us to do it. Amen?
Good, excellent. And the thing is, most of us was not taught sex.
True.
This is a statistic that say 1% of the children learned about sex from their church. 3% learned from their fathers. 12% learned from their mothers. 7% learned from school. 28% learned from secular media. And 49% learned from friends.
See?
So, therefore, that kind of lets us know what has got us backwards concerning sex.
Yes.
Because in church, where we should have been taught, only about 1% are taught in church. And that's why, if most people that's having a problem in this relationship right now should have been in this marriage conference. Because very few people have really found God's perspective concerning sex. You follow me? 3% learn from their fathers. You know, my father and parents never told me anything. You know, in my father's last 20 years, last 15, 20 years, he was very sex vocal. He tell you the many times, don't you come up here on Monday. He said, Monday's mine. You know what I mean? And he tells us, that right, Deborah? Don't come on Mondays. But he let us know that's him and his wife. Now, my father at that time was about 75, 80 years old. He said, but don't come on Monday. He said, my money is mine. And then something became and said, he said, we also had Tuesday this week too. But he began to be very clear in those areas, and he makes talking about sex very comfortable. Which in our early years, he never was like that. You know, it's kind of like your parents even have sex at all. Well, you know, you came some kind of way. You follow me? But I mean, he made it very comfortable for us in those areas. But it would have been good if I could have learned that in my teenage years, when I was learning. Like I said, my mother, she passed when I was 16 years old, and so I had to learn from her. School. Now they have a little bit of teaching on sex, but it's perverted. Secular media, through pornography, through R-rated movies, through all those type of movies. You kind of look and see what Denzel did and what someone else did, and you tried on your wife and your husband. You follow me? Then people learn, they learn from there. And then 49% learn from their friends in the locker room, and they take all the boys, they tell you what they did and how they did this and things like that. And so a lot of times that's why what we brought into the bed is what made it wrong, not what made it bad. Because we brought into the bedroom 49% of what I learned from my friends. We brought in 28% of what I learned from secular media. We brought in 7% of what I learned from school. You know what I mean? And maybe none of my mother and father, depending if they were vocal with us. You follow me? And then 1% from the church. So you can tell that only 1% of what I'm bringing into that bedroom I got from a godly instruction. You follow me? And many times that's what's really affecting a lot of what's going on with sex. Now think about this. Now I seen this statistic and I said, my God, ministers in the early 1900s. Anybody heard of a minister by the name of Martin Luther? What's that? A minister by the name of Martin Luther. They said that he preached abstinence and celibacy in marriage. Yeah. And that they felt that if you had sex, that it would actually defile you spirit and hinder your spirituality.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And I seen that. I seen some people that I know when we first got married, another couple got married same time we did. And this couple was literally like we was. In the world, they had no problem sexually. Got saved, and all of a sudden she started going to bed with her all her clothes on. Because now I'm real spiritual now. And let's go and have it. Let's just go and have sex then. But it's kind of like, I'm not into that no more. You know what I mean? Things like that. But see, sometimes bad teaching like that has affected how we think about things. Is that right?
Mhm.
Go ahead.
And then it says also with Martha wrote, it says he believed that some of the men, he didn't believe, he said some of the men has castrated themselves, so it was impossible for them to have sexual relations.
Wow.
And these are people like Martin Luther. A lot of Christianity was founded upon his teachings.
That's right. Christian Reformation.
In that Christian Reformation. And so I'm saying, so a lot of the teachings were founded upon that.
My God.
And so sometimes that attitude is still prevalent
In the
in the
church.
church. You know, you found in those areas. Anybody ate graham crackers when you was a kid?
Uh-huh.
Now the man's name who's Graham that made that. Think about this. Which one original? The original reason why he created graham crackers was to curb your sex drive so that you would not desire it and you would be able to live a longer life.
Oh, wow.
Graham crackers.
That was the original reason why he created graham crackers.
Look at that.
That's great, right?
Huh?
No, it make no sense.
Wow.
And how many of you had Kellogg's cornflakes?
Oh, yeah.
The man named Kellogg. This is history. The man Kellogg cereal said that the original bill of Kellogg's, it was originally called Elijah's food. It was a special formula that he believed God had given him to curb sex drive so that you would not have to have sexual relationships.
Wow.
He believed that abstinence from sex was the key to longevity. It originated as a food to curb the sex drive and produce long life. That's Kellogg cornflakes.
My God.
The original man named Kellogg. That was why. So what you're saying is that a lot of times, you know, like DNA.
Yeah.
So sometimes DNA knowledge has filtered in so many different ways in people's thinking, how we think about certain things. You're following me? And so again, it is not sex sometimes. We're bringing in the different attitudes and the concepts that we've been taught, or the environment we've been around that created the particular attitude we have about sex and things like that. Are y'all following me?
And we can also see how the devil has crept into the church
Right.
so subtly,
Yeah.
and thinking that, we can't have sex, or we're not supposed to do sex, because of these corrupt thinking, these men of God with PhDs and crazy stuff.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So I'm so knowing about Kellogg's, knowing about graham cracker. So ladies, if you have a problem with your husband being too strong, give him some graham cracker or some Kellogg's cornflakes. No, don't do that. Don't grab. Don't grab.
No.
Praise God.
But see, sometimes you don't know that.
Right.
Are you following? You don't know that sometimes. You don't know why you think the way you're thinking.
That's true.
You may know there, but like I said, the teaching I heard years ago was not that sex is good, but you shouldn't be doing that. It was just
Right.
always taught you should not do
It's
that.
dirty.
It's dirty like that. And that's why even a lot of times, even people that don't have to have a wrong mindset have a hard time. I don't want to get too far in this. They have a hard time having sex, not being under the cover. Because I'm gonna deal with that later on. We're gonna talk about that too, because you'd be surprised by how all these different attitudes and concepts is going on why we think what we think. Is that right? But the whole goal is once we understand things about sex, we're gonna get into this as we get into this. That it is possible, which I didn't think was possible, because I didn't have no understanding of this. It is possible to for someone to not have sex before marriage. Now, I didn't know that was possible because of my concept about sex. Is that following me? And I thought this. Remember they always talking about that people call sex making love, but sex is not making love. You can't make love.
Right.
Are you following me? As a matter of fact, you're supposed to love before you have sex.
Right.
Now we're gonna talk about that too in those areas, because my whole thought this time is this: is to try to help us to begin to get rid of all the bad concepts and things like that, so that our relationship can be strong. Is that right?
Amen.
In those areas, and so this is the point. I want to begin to look at some points here. Number one, we've got to have sex and learn how to enjoy sex from God's original point of view. Remember I said that God originally established sex before man sinned. It was not because man sinned. You follow me? And it was made for men to fully enjoy. Is that right? Now, the whole goal is this. We look at these, we'll start looking at some things. Number one, you can expect God's word to touch problems you have. And whatever problem you're having in the area of sex, God can touch those. I think Rick and Deborah taught on this in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse number 13. It said, there is no temptation taking you in your marriage, but such as is common to man. But so that means that we all deal with that. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above what you're able, but will with the temptation also make a way what? Of escape you may be able to bear. So no one, what problems you may have in sex, it can be handled. I said it can be handled. Is that right? I think like Rick and Deborah said, as you get older, there's some things that kind of change, some things you got to really work on and things like that, that you have to work on when you're a young kid. Because as a young child, you will move more by the emotion of sex versus love. And the whole goal is that, I think some of y'all that are scholars, I think the act of sex is called eros love. Is that right? Eros love? I think it's called eros. It's the sex of love. But then really, eros should not be entered into until agape has been established. Because agape is the God kind of love. And if I don't love my wife prior to entering into sex, then that's one of the first things I'm dealing with, because it was not made. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but the whole goal is that if I don't love my wife, and love is not a feeling. I just said love is a choice that I make. It's a choice I make to do certain acts toward this person, not sexual acts, without anything, expecting anything in return. So the first thing I do if I love my wife, for instance, when my wife and I got married, I didn't have no feelings. So I didn't get married because I was like, head over, I can't live without you no longer. I made a choice that this is a woman I'm going to live with the rest of my life. I'm choosing to do this. No feelings involved at all. Are you following me? And we made a decision that divorce was no longer an option. Separation was no option, although I tried to take it a couple of times.
You did.
Yeah, a couple of times I was.
He did.
I did. I was like, my God, I don't take all this. I packed up all my clothes, going on the road, but I remember the commitment I made, no separation. So it wasn't I didn't get married behind a feeling. I got married because of the commitment that I made, number one, before God. And a lot of people that got divorced, the reason I didn't get a divorce was not because I didn't feel like getting one.
Amen.
But I didn't get it because, number one, I had a commitment to God first, that I'm going to love this woman. So she benefited, not because of my feelings for her, but by my commitment to God.
Amen.
So she got the overflow of that. But if I got married by a feeling, we wouldn't have made it. We're going to be married 45 years this year. Nobody could have made it 45 years if I got married out of feelings. Because feelings are the result of something. Love is the commitment. Are you following me? So my wife benefits every day because we both still imperfect. You know what I mean? And I thought about this. I said that the marriage really, the first thing I can say about marriage is this: is that I stopped trying to be perfect. And I stopped trying to be, because but one thing I can do, I can love. I can't be perfect. I stopped trying to have a perfect marriage because I wanted one, because I thought that's what my mom and daddy had until I got older. I found they had arguments like we had, but I never saw them argue. So I thought when we would argue in marriage, I thought, man, this is a demon I got. I married a demon. You know what I mean? Because she argued and I said, oh my God, this is not where I come from. I come from all this time like this. So I thought I married the wrong one, but I had the right one. But my concept of what marriage was twisted because of the environment I was in and what I had not been exposed to. Are y'all following me?
Then not only that, he didn't like to talk.
Yes.
More than anything, but when we argued, he just shut down.
Oh Lord, that makes it worse.
So that's the reason why he's saying what he's saying, because he just wasn't that type of person.
Yes. And
I'm as verbal, okay, why? Why you do this? Why? So, but he didn't want to talk about it. So.
Yeah, and my thing is this: is that I'm a talker. I talk for a living. So I know how to talk, but I can talk, well, I can cut you to pieces and throw you out and then put a toothpick in there and say, it didn't taste good, no way. I can do that. I know that, so I have to hold. I can do that, really. And I think I'm thinking wrong about it. So I understand that I got to watch my tongue, especially if I'm in an emotional state. Are y'all following? Because like I said, I can say things, and so my thought is I have to just shut down, not necessarily shut down. I gotta. Bible says, he that can hold his tongue is better than a person that rule a city. Somebody talk about it. I've learned to do that because again, my thought was, I don't like to argue. I hate arguing. I hate arguing. And so my thought is, that's it. I'm not gonna talk no more. You know what I mean? Because I just thought that, But again, like my wife said, you got to talk, you got to conversate. But for me, I just can't. I don't like to argue. I don't like to argue. And if I talk to you in an emotional state, you won't like my outcome. Because I talk for a living.
Right. And especially
yes.
when he would do that, he'd be knowing I'd be right. And he don't want to admit that he's wrong.
Well, I'm always right.
See? Right there. That's the reason why he shut down.
So sometimes she do be right. Sometimes she do be right sometimes. But see, the thing is this: what causes an argument is because both of you think you're right.
Right.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be an argument, right? So I wanted to be an attorney before I got married. My young years, and so I argue like an attorney. I'm not gonna win, and I'm gonna win even if I think I'm wrong. I mean, that's my carnal side. And so if I get into an argument, I'm gonna win.
Very frustrating.
Yeah, I can because I'm gonna win. I'm gonna detail that thing out from my argument and everything. And so, but see, and so that's how you can have a challenge sometimes.
Yeah.
So the whole goal is I had to learn that I had to stop trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
I had to stop trying to make her be perfect. But one thing I could do is love her perfectly.
That's good. That's good.
That's one thing I could do. I could love her perfectly. Because love is not a feeling. And so I had to learn how is that what would God is love, how would God act in this situation?
Right.
What would he do? He would turn that car around, put them clothes back in their drawers, hang them clothes back up, and go in there.
Sleep in the same bed.
And go through the same bed.
Right.
Because that was a commitment I made.
Right.
So I had to learn that in those areas so that, and sex is the same thing. You know what I mean? In those areas that I had to learn, because you come from the world, you come from the streets or whatever there, and unless you have the privilege of marrying as a virgin, you follow me, your concept of marriage and sex was totally different. So I had to learn, number one, how to, all right, this is how Leroy said, this is how Bubba did it, this is how this woman did it, this is how one other woman did it, but now all those have to be erased out of my mind. I got to develop a relationship with her now in a godly way. And that's where the toughness was at. You're following those areas. But again, this next point, you got to ask God to deliver you from that attitude. And he can do it there. God can deliver you from those attitudes that you develop in those areas. Because again, sex, remember I said sex is agape before it's eros? So that means this is that I've got to learn that my purpose for having sex is to please her, not myself.
That's a learned state.
That's a learned state.
Yes, it is.
And so, but if I'm just out like in the world, it ain't about that. It's about me. Yeah, you have sex as a man, and the whole goal is to please you, and then like that. Yeah. And so you don't care how she think about that. And the whole goal, so that you get the other boys, say, man, I had sex with her, and had sex with her, and had sex with her, and that was the whole mindset. It wasn't to please her at all. We didn't care if she got pleased or not.
Right.
And so you bring that attitude into your bedroom. Mm-hmm. So after you get finished, you say, she's still up there, or he's still up there, and you don't care. I done got mine over. So, but that's not agape love.
No.
And as I said, you got to bring agape love into your bedroom before you enter into eros. Mm-hmm. Before you enter into the relationship, you got to first of all perfect this. All right, now I'm here now. to satisfy my husband or my wife, not myself. So, and now what I gotta do, I gotta cultivate my sexual feelings. Are you following me? For my wife. I'm gonna say it again. I gotta cultivate my sexual feelings for my wife. Because if I'm not careful, if my wife is not performing like I think she ought to perform, because really, I got Sue in my brain, or Denzel in my brain, and I'm comparing them, and that's why God said you should marry the virgin.
That's right.
Because then, you know, or you saw some kind of movie, and you catch it, I mean. So now I gotta cultivate sexual feelings for my wife. I gotta do that purposefully. Y'all quiet. I don't know if am I all right?
Yeah, you fine.
Okay. I gotta, you know, because now the goal of marriage is to be able to marry, is to marry one woman, satisfy one woman, and be satisfied with just one woman. So I gotta cultivate a sexual desire for my wife that has nothing to do with Sally and Sue, or the wife situation with John and Leroy. But now I gotta really work on wanting to please my wife sexually. All right. Yes.
That's true.
Yes. Yes. And now, say for instance, we bring all kinds of stuff in our sex in that bedroom. See, it's not what happens in the bedroom, but it's what went on before you had to win the bedroom. Maybe you were molested as a child. Maybe you were raped. Maybe you was involved in homosexuality. Maybe you was a lesbian. Maybe you had a lot of men, a lot of women. It ain't what happens in the bedroom, but it's what you brought into the bedroom, what went on before that.
See.
And your husband or your wife is having sex with all them people.
Right.
If you have not dealt with that, if you've not asked God to cleanse you from that,
And be renewed.
and get your mind renewed in those areas. So if your attitude about sex has not been renewed, it will stunt your growth in your marriage.
Amen.
Are you following?
Amen. Amen.
I had a friend of mine that said this. He said that, you know, and his wife was built like a pop bottle. She's a beautiful girl. And I mean, her beautiful shape, beautiful girl. And he told me, he said, you know what, Pastor? At that time, he might have been in his 40s or 50s at the time. He said, but you know what? I could not even get an erection with my wife. He said, I thought I needed some pills they'd be taking?
Oh, Lord, like
Viagra.
Viagra.
I thought I needed Viagra. He said, but then, you know, we had a lot of problems sex in our marriage. He said, but then I backslid, and I went, y'all, I'm using this word, all right?
Okay.
I went to one of them titty bars.
Okay.
Is that all right to use that word?
Yeah.
All right. Because y'all might use those kind of words. That's what he told me. He said, I got an erection quick.
What?
Because when we deal with them women, I wasn't bringing them in with them women. It was, you know, if I mean, just totally, you know, them and me.
Right.
He says, I find it wasn't me per se, but it was the problem that my wife was having in the bedroom before what happened in the bedroom that caused me to feel like I needed Viagra. I'm not talking about putting nobody down having that.
Right.
He said that's why I was turned off. I was not sexually attracted to my wife because I had not taken the time to cultivate my feelings toward my wife because all the issues I bring into the bedroom. But he found out, he said that I didn't need Viagra. He said it was just because I had not cultivated a relationship between me and my wife before. But other women had no problem with that. That's why I knew that I didn't need Viagra. Because it was a physical problem with me. It would not have worked with other women. See, this is why some men and people, they need to look at pornography and stuff when they have sex relationship at home, because they need something to arouse them. Because you're not taking the time to actually cultivate your sexual feelings concerning your wife or your husband specifically. You got to really work on that. You got to work on it when you don't need pornography. You don't need to see, you know, somebody else having sex. You don't need to think about Julie or Kate, the way they move, or Sam, or Tim, or Bartholomew, whoever it is, the way he moves. You got You gotta work on developing
Right.
and cultivating the section between your wife and your husband where you desire them.
That's right. And
That is a
that's-
learned state.
It's a learned state. And that's the reason why we as wives, we have to learn to take care of our own bodies. We have, because just like the word of God says, it says that we don't own our bodies. Our husband owns our bodies. We're the caretakers. So therefore, you got to find perfume for yourself. You got to get bubble bath. Take out time for yourself. So many times we're taking out time for kids, but not ourselves. So it's so important that I'm a gift to my husband. So therefore, if I'm a gift to my husband, I'm going to make sure I'm clean all the time. You know, you might not do stuff that you do in-house and you do outside. But look, ladies, y'all gonna get y'all some booty shorts.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For the house.
That's right.
For the house. Not for outdoors.
Indeed.
Find some booty shorts for your husband. Find some bikinis for your husband. That's not for the world.
That's right.
Look, you got to know what please, and then you're wondering why he's looking at somebody else while you're driving. I look too. You ain't doing nothing at home. You know what I'm saying? So we as women, we have to take care of ourselves. Dr. Craig, no. I mean, I just love my bedroom. I'm always into sheets. I got that from my girl over here. I'm into sheets now. Just making my room my holy place. Put it that way. Because he going in if the bedroom smelling good, my sheets smelling good. I'm changing them sheets. They not staying on there 2 or 3 months at a time. Change them sheets. Oh, I don't want to make them no baby. Just throw anything. Just fine. That's your sanctuary, lady. That's for you and your husband. And so this is what we have to do for ourselves. You know, make ourselves smell good. Keep ourselves up at all times. You know, there are times, I get into now that I'm older, I get to a place that was like, there was a time when I was younger, I did because I didn't know my body. I was keeping on all my clothes, and going to bed with socks, and wondering why he wasn't attracted. But now, it ain't nothing but flesh.
Praise the Lord.
Dr. Craig is flesh.
Hallelujah.
Total what?
Very spiritual.
Because that's what he liked. And I'm a cuddler, so I'm cuddling up to him all the time. Sometimes when he makes me upset, I just get on the other side and say, well, we'll be all right, but I'm gonna come back together again. Okay, don't get me wrong. But this is what we as women we have to do. We just have to learn how to just keep ourselves up and ask the man, what do you like? Because that's another problem we have. We don't communicate. Have you asked your husband, lady, what do you like? Look at your husband. Look at your husband. Say, think about it. And then tell me when we leave here. He's talking about igniting.
Yes, think about it.
Amen.
Yes.
Igniting.
Yes.
Put some fire in it.
Put some fire in there. Go look. If she don't go to Victoria's Secret, you go to Victoria's Secret. You go to Hollywood, Fredericks of Hollywood. That's not for the world. That's that's for us. That's for you and your wife. Amen.
Amen.
And so that's what I'm saying. You have to keep it spicy. You got to keep the spice in your marriage. Yeah, we having sex right now. You 66.
I'm 65, he's 66.
Oh, he'll be so busy. It's hot up in here. Boy, it is hot. Okay, I keep a tiger in my tank. What? Ladies, we have to think this way. Because just because you're married over 40-something years, don't mean that the thrill ain't gone. The thrill is there. And ladies, you have to learn how to work your mind and work your instruments.
Yeah.
That mind is something else. You gotta tell your vagina what to do. You gotta know how to work that instrument.
Hi there. It's
Okay.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
That's right. So you have to learn how to do these things, because ain't nobody gonna teach it to you. Because if you don't know, and you wonder why your husband don't want to have sex with you, that's the reason why, because you don't know how to use your instruments. I mean, ladies, we have a powerful tool.
Yes, we do.
Powerful tool. And why do you think that, what's that girl's name? The one that just come, she used to be a pole dancer.
Cardi B.
Cardi B.
Cardi B. Why do you think she's at the point? Why do you think she's at the point in her life where she's at? Because she started off as a pole dancer. She was giving the man exactly what they wanted. Exactly what they wanted. And look, she making billions now too. Just flaunting it. So I ain't telling us to be like Cardi B, but Cardi B know how to use her instrument. That's something to think about, ladies.
Wonderful, good. And you know, ladies, one thing you want to know about the men too is that a man is not always just attracted to your physical.
True.
Especially if your attitude is not right.
True.
Are you following?
Attitude means a lot.
It means a lot, you know what I mean? And I talked about that about my friend, about how he said his wife, they went to church all the time, they in church all the time, but their attitudes, your attitude can really be turning a man off also, and things like that. So sometimes, like for instance, we live in Vegas. You know, we be teasing sometimes, we walk down the strip down there, and the women, they walk on that strip, in strips. In strips, and you know, on their breasts like a little quarter like deal on there, and the little strip on the behind, you know what I mean, like what do you call them underwear? Like a thumb, and it's normal. But you know what? I ain't a little bit more turned on that. That does not turn me on whatsoever. I can send a little kid that needs some help.
Because you already get it.
I get but even with that I wouldn't be, because with me. Attitude to me means a lot. To me, a woman with a good attitude is very sexual.
Yes.
So you can walk around me butt naked. If your attitude ain't right, I'm still not turned on. Cause remember I said what you bring into the bedroom. If your attitude is not right, now I'm gonna talk about that later on as we get into this. Then it still will not. We're gonna get to question and answer tomorrow. We'll get more into this tomorrow. But if your attitude is not right, a man is not just turned on by how you can work it. Even though, thank God, when we do it, it's good when they work it out. Please don't stop working it. You know what
Okay.
I mean? But you need to know that a man really is not just turned on by that. Remember I said it's not sex that's the deal, it's what's going on before the sex act. If agape has not took place before eros in the bed, a man may be having sex with you, but for him it's just a duty versus really enjoying things.
Right.
So not read out of love. And as I said, you gotta cultivate that. The first thing I cultivate the agape love and make sure that you all are doing what you need to do for the benefit of the other person. Just not what I said, because you'll make sex a lot easier when you do that. My wife will tell you one time, we was in Vegas. This is about 10 years ago. We was in Vegas. And this one lady was coming down. She was coming down the way and
walking toward us.
in Caesar's Palace, yes. And my eyes just went to her, and she was not wearing a low cut blouse. She was not showing all her body, but to me, she was like the epitome of a woman, and I was attracted to that. So I'm not really attracted to a woman that if I'm looking for a wife, if a woman is showing her breasts, I ain't been more attracted to that. Because to me, that's my Bible says that a woman's breast needs to satisfy her husband at all times. So I'm not even satisfied. I'm not turned on to a lot of things. To me, what turns me on, first of all, is the attitude. In those areas. I don't care if you can have a body like a pop bottle. But if your attitude is not right, I'd rather like, man, my God, forget it, because that But now once that's right. Let's just like what's it? Marvin Gaye said, "Let's get it on." But let me show you something. We're gonna talk about that later on. But let me show you something here, and that is that we got to stop being ashamed in sex. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 21, when God first began to do this, it said, and God called. In verse 18, it was not good for man to be alone. But in verse 21, it says, and the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and clothed with the flesh thereof. and the rib which the Lord God had taken from the man made he a woman and brought her to the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, and she shall be called woman because she was taken out of a man. Therefore shall the man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. So my relationship with my wife, I've got to leave mom and dad, but I gotta also leave Hilda, I gotta leave Kate, I gotta leave Sue, I gotta leave all of them in my mind and say, God, deliver me from all the experiences I had with them prior to this time. Because now me and my wife have become one flesh. And now I gotta really cultivate this relationship between me and my wife now. So I gotta leave all that. You follow me? Because otherwise I bring them in. I was watching a movie the other week, and that this woman was having a hard time with. She was having a hard time because this other man that she used to go with, she having sex with her husband, but she didn't tell the man. And also she wastes about her sleep. You follow me? And see, so we gotta get delivered from the demons of our past. You follow me? That's still stuck in our emotions that we're still bringing into a relationship because it's not like it needs to be in those areas. Somebody say amen.
Right.
Now, verse 25 says they were both naked, and man and his wife, and were not ashamed. We want to be able to be naked before each other. And like I said earlier, that Adam and Eve did not put on clothes until they was conscious of their sin. But before that sin, they were naked and not ashamed. And I was saying that sometimes, I've heard people say sometimes that they can't even, that the nakedness and the consciousness of their sin and things like that is still there, and therefore a lot of people can't even have sex without being under the cover. Because that consciousness of my body and the shameness of it, or the shameness of sex is still there.
Right.
So I'm still not able to really clearly have sex without shame. But I got to get rid of all the shame in those areas. Are y'all following this today? I miss y'all. Am I teaching all right? It's okay.
It's good.
But I got to get all the shame out of my life concerning sex.
Exactly.
They were naked and not ashamed. So they were having sex and no shame with it. And this is before the fall. This is before the fall. And in those areas. And then, now this is another thing, this is important. Because after the fall happened, we get into the Old Testament. And we get into the Old Testament, we find this out. We find that from that point on, God said from this point on, man's going to rule over the woman. Is that right? So throughout the Old Testament, you find man ruling over the woman.
Right.
And some, let me take you here for a moment there. Now, so then, after man sinned, man began to rule over the woman. So throughout the Old Testament, the man can even in the Old Testament, have more than one wife. And Solomon had like 1,000 wives. Why? Because now the woman was not considered the whole person anymore. Because now they said a husband ruled over her, so now a man can have, but if a woman had more than one husband, she get killed. She gets stoned. But the man could. So now, therefore, therefore, the woman did not have equal rights in the sex concerning sex. The man could have sex with a prostitute. The man could have more than one wife, but the woman could not. Is that right? So in Galatians chapter 3, verse 28, it says, there is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither male nor female, a bond nor free, male nor female, for you are all one in Christ. So what Jesus did, he took away that absurdness that a man had of a woman in those areas where a man could then have more than one woman. That's why the New Testament said let a man have his own wife. Because now God is restoring the original relationship sexually, that a man now can have more than one woman. They're now one in Christ. Now, this we get into so Dubanopolis, Paul is talking to Jewish people that are coming out of Judaic religion that have been used to a man usurping over a woman, used to a man being able to have more than one wife, and the woman having to take it. So now Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians again, chapter 7, not considering what you wrote, because he's not talking to Jewish people coming out of Judaic relationships where men are having more than one wife. and the woman is still being bound, but he's saying now in Christ.
In Christ.
That doesn't happen no more. So he says now, the thing you wrote unto me, it is not good for man to touch a woman, nevertheless to avoid fornication, let every man now have his own wife. You can't just have more than one wife no more.
See.
And let every woman have her own husband. Now every woman can have her own husband now. You ain't got to just share your man with everybody else no more.
Right.
We're talking about what doom and doubleness means there. And then it talked about this in verse 3, let the husband render to the wife. Doom and doubleness means, go back to the book of Genesis, when God first created sex. You got that? That now, what's due your wife, you are to render doom and doubleness, and likewise also the husband, the wife to the husband, meaning this, that now the man and the woman are back together again. So doom and doubleness means, let's get back one the way Adam and Eve were before the sin. Let's not let the man be able to rule and just please himself no more. Because until then, the man just did what he wanted to do, to whoever he wanted to do it with, and the woman didn't have any rights at all.
Yeah.
But now he's saying, let the wife render to the husband due benevolence. Likewise, the husband is back to where it was before Adam and Eve sinned. And let's bring the purity back in our sex relationship. And that's what he's talking about there. That's what due benevolence actually means in those areas. And so he's saying, let's bring it back the way it was. Now go ahead, Beth. I know you had something to share on that.
No.
Oh, you go? Okay, good. All right. Now, okay, good. So, ladies, that means you're free. That means that due benevolence actually means going back to the original way that Adam and Eve had sex before they sinned. Bring the purity back into it. Get Hazel and Judy out of it. Get Tom and Jerry out of it. And now Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, back into relationship again. And that's why Paul is saying, render due benevolence. Because now, it says, the husband's body, it has not power, verse 4 says, the husband has not power of his own body, but the wife. No, the wife has no power about the husband, but the husband has power over the body, but the wife. We're saying that now, husbands, your body can't be given to every woman no more. And wives, your body can't be given to every man anymore. That now, you rent each other. What due benevolence means this, that stop having sex with the person you saw on TV last night. Are y'all following? Because many people need that. And I enjoy movies. I'm not talking about, I watch movies, but I'm talking about a lot of people, because they've not developed with their husband and wife, that still happens a whole lot. And the whole goal is now, begin to really cultivate sex with your husband. Now think about this, because otherwise you'll still be comparing him with, or her with, other people that you had sex with. Are y'all following me? So really start, everybody say cultivate that. Okay, now. So I want to renew my mind in these areas, is that right? I got to repent for any improper use that I have for sex. Because sometimes if you were taught wrong concerning sex relationship, then if I'm not careful, I'll use my body as a weapon against you also. Then in case you don't treat me right, go to bed. Are you following me? But I can't do that no more. I can't use sex improperly anymore. Right. Is that right? I got to repent of all the things I've used sex for that was improper. Is that right? And I got to close the door to any demonic activity that allowed those kind of things to come in my life. Is that right?
Amen.
And then I want to, this is where I got, make love before I have sex. Means I want to get in, before I get into the sex relationship, I need to develop agape love toward my wife. Because otherwise, I'm going to still act selfishly in the bedroom. I got to get the agape love as a husband and as a wife before the bedroom. Because that's what it really goes on in people's lives. That's what's happening in a lot of people's lives. They're not really developing in that. And like I said, sometimes we're bringing things in there that really is demonic in nature, but it's something that we learn from the world. And that's why the devil still is happening. He's doing so much corruption and stuff like that. That's why we don't recognize sometimes why we need to do certain things prior to having sex, because that's the mindset. We're having sex, you know, based upon our mindset before we got saved. And we got to get rid of all that. Somebody say amen.
That's right.
Hallelujah. You know, I'm doing my best on this. But so let me say something, because I know we're bringing up. I'm going to get into Ephesians. I know Noel. I'm going to show this right quick. You know, those areas about love. This is before this. I'm calling this making love before you have sex, because you can't make love. Love is you're from love. Love is not sex. You can love before you have sex. So look what he says here in Ephesians 5:25. He says this: husbands, what? Love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. So the first thing I need to do, I need to make sure that before I go into the sex act, I've loved my wife ahead of time. I've loved with agape love. I need to go in there with a total unselfish mindset when I'm going in there. Are you following me? Now, because otherwise, I'm going to just have sex because it's our time. We didn't have sex this week. We didn't have sex. No, if I'm going there with agape love, I'm coming there with a total attitude to be a blessing to you, to share my love with you. Is that right? And then it says in verse 28, go down to verse 28 for me. It says, so ought men what to love their wives as their own bodies. So now if I'm loving my own body, then I want to make sure that I'm really coming in there, and like my wife said, to do whatever I got to do to make sure that I'm clean, make sure that I got myself prepared, make sure I got Tilda and Linda out of my brain. Loving her as I love my own body. I gotta get into agape love before I get into eros love. So this way I'm gonna really cultivate. My wife gonna get the benefit of my relationship with God in this sexual act. As a matter of fact, we can even pray before we have sex. We don't do that, but you can even do that. To know that sex is so holy before God that I can even pray 1 minute before I have sex. Let's pray, let's agree that we'll enjoy sex at the level God created it. It's kind of like your brain said, wait a minute, I can't do that.
Right.
You know, God gonna be it? Yes, God gonna be right there.
Jesus.
Because sex is just that pure. Sex is no more impure than for you to say grace over your food at the dinner table. That's just how pure God created it. The world perverted it in our minds. Are y'all following? As I love my own bodies. And no man ever hid his own flesh, but what nourished in the church of the Lord. So I'm going to get in, I'm going to love my wife, I'm going to cherish my wife, and her body going to be an opportunity for me to love and cherish her even as I do my own body. So when I'm having sex with her, she needs to feel that I'm loving her and I'm cherishing her, not myself. That's the attitude to have if I'm going to have sex with my wife. I'm going in with agape love. She's going to feel like I'm loving her just as Christ loved the church. I'm loving her as I love my own body. I'm nourishing her. I'm cherishing her as Lord of the church. She needs to feel that as I'm approaching her as a man coming to her. Are you following me? I'm not just coming to make love with her. I'm bringing the love of God into this bedroom. There's a whole different mindset. So now she's going to experience that. Because she's going to experience the whole mindset that it's not just about me getting my climax. It's about me loving her and her letting her experience God's kind of love in this bedroom at the highest level possible. And that's what she needs to experience when we're having sex. And the woman going to experience this, do the same thing with a man. That it's just not about that. It's about us now coming together with the purity of sex that God created before sin even happened. That there's no sin at all in having sex at all. That now my husband's going to experience a godly woman minister to our husband in such a way that the presence of God can flow in the relationship. Because God created this for us at this moment.
Yes.
This is something God created.
Yes.
It's something that is holy. It's something that is pure. It's something God made not just to have children. Because if he had just to have children, he could have had us have climax or have sperm without having a climax.
Yeah.
So he made it to enjoy. That's why he had a climax. So the whole thing about sex was not just from having kids. And it was made before sin. So my wife needs to start experiencing a holy sexual experience with me, with Jesus and the Holy Ghost are blessing it. That's the level that they ought to experience in their relationship. Is that right? And ladies, for you, as you have a sex with your husband, I like reading Amplified Bible and verse 33 of Ephesians, in the Amplified version. Look what it says. It says, however, let each man of you without exception love his wife as being in his very own self, and let the wife see that she respects her husband, reverences her husband, and that she notices him, regards him, honors him, prefers him, venerates him, and esteems him, and that she defers to him, and praises him, and loves and admires him exceedingly. That's what turns a man on. So you can have the Victoria's Secret if you want to, but if you ain't got verse 33, a man will walk right by you naked. And you wonder what in the world's going on here. But what turns a man on is respect. That's sexual to a man. If a wife really respects her husband, to him that's sexual. If she notices him, regards him, honors him, prefers him, venerates, esteems him, are you following? Making him feel like he's valuable. And you got to do that on purpose. You got to really work on that. That God, let my husband feel, as I'm coming to his bedroom, that he's the best thing ever happened. Let's work on it. Let's cultivate this in our lives. That we can start having a relationship where my husband sees that I'm honoring him. And he feels like I'm esteeming him so highly. And I bring that attitude into the bed. So it's not what happens during the sex, it's what happens before the sex.
That's right.
Make love before you have the sex. Bring agape in there before you have all that, and watch and see how it starts happening. All of a sudden you find he may not need all the Viagra you thought he needed. Some men may need it, I'm not putting that down. But a lot of men, probably 95% of the men that's having issues is not with that. Sometimes it's the attitude that goes before that thing. And man said this is a turn off. He may still have sex with you, but it's really not, he's not agape in you. He's eros, and he's just kind of getting that emotional thing off. But the whole goal is God created it, because God is agape.
Yes.
So you want agape to be in that section, in that room. And work on that and watch and see what happens. Like my wife said, as we've grown, I'm 65 years old now, and there's physical change happening in your body. You got to work on a couple of little extra things, in those areas. But as long as you keep agape in there, you can make it happen. Because everything, when you're young, it didn't take a whole lot. When you're young, 20 in your 20s, you didn't need agape. Just give me arrows. In and out. No agape. But as time's on, it takes a little bit more. You got to work on my emotions. You got to work on me now. Give me some agape first. And you bring agape into your marriage relationship. You bring agape in there. And like I said, it's not perfect. I stopped trying to be perfect. I stopped trying to have a perfect marriage. But I can have an agape marriage.
Yes. Yeah, that's awesome.
I learned I can have an agape marriage that's not perfect. If I bring agape in there, it bears all things. It believes all things. It hopes all things. Are you following? And that's why after we've been married 44 years this year, and we're still excited. Only because and we're not perfect by the end. We still have arguments, because I'm still always right. So we still have arguments. We do. We still have arguments. Not the knock out drag out we still have, but we still have conflict. We still have different disagreements. But I learned if I keep agape in there, meaning it's not about me now. You follow me? It's about God being glorified in my marriage, then it resolves real quickly. I know how not to be quiet. I know how. Okay, let me back up now, and let me not trying to win this argument anymore. Let me now do what I need to do to keep agape in my relationship. You know, see, and I'm telling y'all something. It does work. It really does work. And like I said, you know, don't try to be perfect no more. Stop trying to be perfect. That's hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Trying to be a perfect man, that is hard. Trying to be a perfect marriage. Because by the time you ready to order your halo, you find out you got to send it back. You know, I thought I almost had it perfect, y'all. But because we're both imperfect people with a perfect God. But from what I could do, I can love her with agape. And that's how we've stayed strong over these years. All our kids are gone now, so you know we don't have, so we just we ain't got nobody to kind of like blame and on what I'm talking to the kids now. It's just me and her now. So you gotta have some agape, and otherwise you're gonna find like you're gonna be like, what we gonna do now? But you gotta keep agape in there, and to keep agape in there, your marriage will stay together. The sex will still be good. It'll be strong and things like that. And like I said, you know, but you gotta work on it.
Yes.
You gotta really work on it. And my wife, she does a good job of it. She, you know, she keeps herself up. You know what I mean? She, you know, like she said, I go in the bedroom sometime. I can tell she done sprayed that bedroom. She done sprayed the couch. She done sprayed not the couch, but the bed. And I can smell it when she come in. I said, oh no, I like that. I like that. Because that's agape working. She's doing what she thinks that would make me feel good, make me approach things correctly. You'll follow me? And she's, you know, in those areas, and we both have changed a lot, understanding that winning the argument ain't worth losing our joy and the peace in our relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So now arguing is, you know, we, like I said, we still have the conflict because we're two different people. We're gonna be like that until we both turn 120 years old. You follow me? But the whole goal is we don't come to the conclusion that we're gonna walk in agape. Because if I can bring agape into the bedroom at 100 years old, I'm gonna still tell y'all don't come on Monday.
Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, you know,
Right.
because I'm finding out Abraham, the Bible says, at the age of 99 years old, God didn't have a baby, so God made it happen.
That's right.
And the Bible said Moses 120 years old said none of his natural force was abated, meaning he was still sexually active at 120 years old. So the whole goal is a lot of the sexual thing we're going through right now is mental, is what we brought into relationship before we got married, is other people, or maybe if you were abused or things that you experienced in the flesh that Jesus said you not allow God to really cleanse you of. Get all that out of there and then create. Because marriage is not bringing two families together. Marriage is building another relationship. So I need to build a relationship with just me and my wife. So the only sex that's going on in my bedroom is not me and the other women I had. It's me and my wife. It's the only one in that bedroom now. And we are cultivating our relationship and making it better and better and better. But its root is agape love. That's the root of it in those areas. And when I keep it that way, it's on. We can sound like a market. Let's get it on. Yeah, and be good. All right. I guess is that it?
You still have more time.
Yeah, but what time did we start?
On time.
We started at 3 o'clock. That's on 30 minutes.
No, you still got 20 minutes if you
Oh,
want.
that's 20 minutes left. Okay. I'll tell y'all what then. Was that all my notes? I did, because yeah, she said I just reminded I did, because I knew where I wanted to go to in those areas.
Point across.
I don't get my point across, that's why I want to across there, yes. You have anything else you have? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, let's take our field. I know we have a question and answer session in a few minutes, but on this particular topic right now, let's talk a little bit about that. You know, we stay right on this, Alfred.
What's that?
We just stay right on the coast. Let's just stay on part of our. Okay, good. Okay, good. Because some of you may, you know, because since I'm on this doing up this thing, I know we have a question and answer later on. But you know, something I said today specifically to spark some things in our lives. And I said that what is not the sex act, it's what you do before that affects what goes on in the sex act. And I'm saying that nobody, Bible said the husband and wife are to cleave what? To one another. I got to ask Jesus to cleanse my mind of everyone else I've had sex with, whether physically or I got to cleanse my mind if I was abused as a kid, I experienced rape, child molestation, participated in homosexuality, lesbianism, whatever I did before I got saved. None of that can go into my bedroom. I got to ask God with the blood of Jesus Christ to cleanse me from all of that, so that in my bed, only 2 people are in there. It's me and my wife, God and the Holy Spirit in that bedroom. And we're going back to the book of Genesis, where we're rendering each other due benevolence and the rights each other have. No more forced anymore in those areas. Amen? All right, any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Mike said, "Oh Lord." Apostle, I thank you, Pastor Beverly, for the message on due benevolence. And it's very, and it hit home. And I think all the teachings that hit home today. I'm glad we came. And yes, and like you said, the love language before you get to the bedroom. As a man, you want to have your mind clear on that. And so you really touch home with me on that, because if you don't have that clear, it's hard to get ignited.
Yes. Yes.
And engaged.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's where I am. So you get home with me.
Wonderful.
In my house.
Excellent.
So I don't know if you can elaborate on it again just one more time so I can get it in my spirit,
Yes.
How do you get yourself ready?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So how do you, the question was asking, how do you get yourself ready and your mind ready for that mentally?
Yes. Well, for a woman, it takes a little bit longer. And that's what each person has to do what it takes to get yourself prepared. Are you following those areas? The main thing I said is to make sure I'm in the area of love, meaning this. If me and my wife is not been getting along, having arguments, stuff like that, I need to start working on it and make sure that I cleanse, got rid of all that before I get in there. Are you following those areas? And now this is not your case, but I'm using this as an instance. If I'm still finding myself having sex with my wife, and I'm still thinking about another woman that I had sex with before in my life, I gotta ask Jesus to cleanse me from all that, because those things will come up. If I'm still dealing with, something I saw on TV, that coming up, I gotta deal with all that. So I gotta really look at my attitude that I bring in there, and I gotta really make sure that I'm now, or remember, if there's some things that hold along against my wife, I gotta deal with all that too, because all those things will affect how I'm gonna perform in the actual, not the bedroom, but in the actual bed itself. So I got to be open myself, and then just go before God knows everything. Say, God, I need to get this out of my heart, get that out of my heart, cleanse me from all these things. You know what I mean, in those areas, and then recognize that when I tell God, and when He found out,
Right.
it just reminded me to say, God, I need some help in these areas and stuff like that. But yeah, but really preparing yourself. I say making love before you make love. Actually getting into a love mindset. That this time I'm here totally to please my wife and to love her, to make her feel cherished. Like Bob said, the love, the cherish, and the nourish. I want her to feel nourished and cherished when I go in there. So I'm preparing myself specifically for that. I think it said that selfishness is when I get for self at others' expense. But love is when I give for self, when I give to others at my expense. So I recognize my part in the sex relationship is totally what my wife is going to get out of this at my expense. So I'm really making sure that I'm smelling right. Then I got myself ready. She's gonna feel nourished. She's gonna feel secure in everything when I have sex with her. And so it's just a mindset you want to have in those areas. And that's how but you have to work on that. You have to cultivate that. But just start thinking about that when you're doing it. God, I want to cultivate this in those areas more and more. And you'll find out that, again, agape will come in there. Because that's what Adam and Eve had prior to sin. That sin, the only thing that's wrong with sex is fornication. But that's when you do it outside of a marriage. I gotta recognize that sex is so holy that just like I pray over my food and ask God to bless it, I can pray over my sex and say, God, bless this time of relationship that you created for me to please my wife. And I can just start doing that as an exercise in my mind. And as I do it as an exercise in my mind, it'll start happening just like that. Are you following me? So you think about blessing your food. Just as pure. Just as pure.
Okay, now that was the spiritual side. What about the natural side? How would he be able to do that naturally, in the natural?
Okay. What to me, everything happens in natural starts out in the spirit. That's my mindset in those areas. But again, my wife says, she always says all the time, you take it in the spirit, I take it in the natural, she always tell me that. But I would say, the main thing is, find out what she likes in the natural realm in those areas. Sometimes for a woman likes flowers. You know what I mean? She ladies, don't think your husband knows, because he don't. Sometimes, on both sides. Don't take it that your husband automatically knows. Well, you ought to do this, and I don't know that you want me to do that. So, in other words, unless the Holy Ghost give me a word of knowledge, I have no idea what you really want. So, so tell him, I like flowers on that day. I like you to take out the trash. Pastor Lanning told me, his wife said that taking out the trash was very sexy to her. You know what I mean? But as a man, what is the sex with you? But you take out the trash, to me, I love that. That's romantic for me. You take out the trash. But you gotta tell them, because the thing that really affect y'all, it don't mean nothing to us. But it's not about us, right? I'm bringing agape in there. I'm bringing agape in there. So I'm bringing the God kind of love in there, where I'm giving for self at the expense of giving to you at my expense. So whatever it is, you got to tell me the things that you feel that I need to do prior to that. Because like I said, the act itself is not as important, because people got divorced and had great sex in the bed, but they didn't keep it married. So what it wasn't about, nothing wrong with sex in the bed, but that was not enough to keep them married. It was what went on before the sex. It was agape that kept men married. But the other thing, like my wife said, on both parts, let your husband know, let your wife know, this is thing to me, this is sexual to me. And like I said, Pastor Lanning said, his wife said, take out the trash to us. Or some people said, take them flowers out. Or maybe, my wife let me get her coffee in the morning. Those things that my wife, I don't drink coffee in the morning. To her, that's very good. Sometimes she said, the other morning, she said, what's in my hand? I'm trying to figure out what's in your hand. Nothing in your hand. You're supposed to be some coffee in there. You know what I mean?
He don't be faking.
I've been praying all morning. I'm talking about this coffee. You get your hand out like this. What's wrong with my hand? What's wrong with your hand? Something wrong with my hand? What you need? You know what I mean?
I gotta bring it down to earth all the time.
Yeah, you follow me? So she had to tell me that, because we don't know how you're thinking. Don't think that we know what you want, because we don't know. You got to tell us. And vice versa with the man. You got to tell your wife. You follow me in those areas, because you all may think that, like I said, some women think that, doing certain things is sex to a man, but sometimes a man's not turned on by something that you may think that he's turned on with. Not for your husband. So I'm saying that you got to find out what your husband wants. That's agape love. Agape love is finding out how I can please you at my expense. That's agape, and on both parts. And you got to be open and tell each other that, because you think that's what we want, or vice versa, may not even be what we want.
And then sometimes too, our mates are not really good communicators, and they don't know how to talk to us. If needs be, text it.
Yeah.
And if he's not a phone person, write a letter. and telling him, and then receive it back. And then when you get that letter back from them or that text back from them, don't be putting it in all caps, because all caps is you yelling at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't yell at him. So, and then that way he can respond to you. And then once he responds to you, you know, okay, you start doing those things. Not just keeping it to yourself, oh, this is what he wants, and I'm just not going to. No, just do a little bit at a time. Let him start seeing you do the little things first. And then, and before you know it, he'll come right, he'll melt in your hands. Or she'll melt in your hands. And so I have a question here. You know, like sometimes, you know, we as women, we are self-conscious about our bodies. So how can you as a man make me feel relaxed? And then like sometimes too, you know, even, you know, when we're having sex, you know, sometimes, you know, we are frigid. How can you make me relax in that? Okay.
Okay, all right, praise the Lord.
The way you do that is, first thing, he
Okay.
start rubbing on you real nice and smooth.
Okay.
You know, and start
Speaking your mind.
start from your love and just relax her by hands, rubbing your hands. I mean, relaxing her, love that,
First.
and kissing that body, back. Oh, it's gonna get nice. You ready, girl?
All right.
Out here.
All right.
Okay.
But see,
Oh, Jesus.
she just brought it to us from a woman's perspective.
Yes.
Because see, we wouldn't even know that.
Right.
But I'm talking about what I'm saying, see, so that's why we need y'all to tell us those things.
Exactly.
Because see, now that's what she needs. Another woman may say, that's not what I need.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that communicate in those areas, because like one man said that, you know, one woman he had before he got married, he kiss him on the ear, blow in the ears. So he said, Dr. Price said that. He said, so he got Dr. Bailey, got married, he blew in the ears, she kicked like hers. He said, she got married, you know, he said, what's wrong with you, woman? He said, I hate when you blow on my ears. But Sue and Zella love that. But see, because somebody else loves it, I mean, you know, so that's why you need to tell us.
Oh, that's her question. When she said embarrass of the body.
Right.
Yes.
When you embarrass
But that's
the body,
good what you
but
said.
The man take.
You have to take
I
charge
mean,
of that.
Yes.
take part in it.
Good.
And you know, like she could be just coming out of the shower,
Yes.
and you know.
I love
rub
that.
it, and you know, don't tell her, say I'm gonna do it. You know, say, oh,
Just
do
do
it.
it.
Do it.
Just do it.
And
Yeah.
the woman feels like no matter what shape you're in, oh, he likes my
Right.
body. Like, oh,
Make it feel secure.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And that's
Good.
it.
I love that. Because see, we need to know those kind of things, because we need to know from several women, because you all letting us know this is what you all need. Then men can tell you from other perspective of it.
Exactly.
Yes, Joe.
Kind of going back, but this is about food and eating. In the beginning, you were talking about like graham crackers and
Yes.
Kellogg's cornflakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love graham crackers. Especially I love chocolate covered graham
Got
crackers.
some at home right now.
Where did you guys get that one from? So I was like, yeah, I got some, and at the house I got some chocolate Kellogg's frosted cornflakes. Yes, like man, I'm gonna trash them when I get home. Where did you guys find that at?
But no, that was some research, I guess, people doing a marriage seminar. A guy did some research. Now that was the original. It's not like today. That was years ago. So it's changed since then. He said that's the way the original reason why they did that. Go back in those days, like I said, people like John West and them in the older days, they preached this. So even doctors taught those kind of things.
Okay.
So again, it's been developed since then. So that's not the case nowadays.
Right.
But that's how those guys back in that early century, I guess, they thought like that and they preached that too. People actually captured themselves to keep them happy. Until they captured religion, still practice a lot of priests. But a lot of the priests, that's why they end up with all kind of crazy things going on too, because that's not normal.
Right.
But that's where that all came out of, all that teaching back in the day.
It's not God's ideas, man's
You know what I mean? So back in those days, it was taught like that, so people did that like that. And I'm saying, but that's why people have so many false too because they believe that kind of stuff. But that was the original thought behind it. Thank God it changed.
Hallelujah.
Thank God it changed.
Cause I know, like last year, I think it was around November, my wife started this new, diet.
Okay.
It was like keto diet type thing.
Right.
And I don't do diets.
Yeah.
But my
Right.
wife cooks food.
Okay.
So it's like, she changed her diet and she makes food. I can cook, I can make my own stuff, but I'd rather eat what she
There
makes,
you
so. I lost 25 pounds, so it actually made my health a lot better.
Good.
Yeah.
So it helped me, and I know that a lot of things that we eat as black man, it kind of really just messes our health up. But since I started losing that weight, it made a lot of my, I fight with the main things that kill black guys, diabetes, high blood pressure,
Yeah.
all those things, but it made it a lot better. But the diet is, is a big thing. But
Yes.
man, I was like, man, I gotta give it a graham cracker soup.
Flex.
Yeah. But those are, the whole reason I shared that because sometimes we don't know where these attitudes came from, the root cause of stuff things.
Yeah.
And most people that originated a lot of teaching that go into churches today, that stream is still in a lot of things, about sex, not teaching sex. 1% have been taught in the church still. So if only 1% of our teachers taught in the church, what the rest of it come from? And that's what's going into your bedroom. And that's why we got to find out the purity of it, the way God originated it before. And the thing I saw when I was doing research is the fact that really stuck to me a lot was that God created sex before Adam sinned. It was not, sin had nothing to do with the way God created it. And we got to recognize the purity of it in those areas and begin to enjoy it in those areas. But then we talk about that too, about the diet and stuff like that. All that's important. Because, as we grow, our bodies may not be physically as we want to do, but we can do our best to make it as good as we can, which is important. Yeah. So I think we're going to take a break. We're going to have a question and answers. And I want y'all to ask any questions. Feel free to ask any questions because this is going to be a question and answer session. But did this help out a little bit? Do I talk about today?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to be as open as I possibly can with this. But we only have one time. That's why I skip a lot of my notes. I guess I skipped a whole lot of my notes, stuff like that. But I want to get to that point where what Duke Numbers really meant. It really means that the wife is no longer just an object anymore. That she now has the same rights over a man's body as a man has over her body. And we want to render them what Duke Numbers in those areas.
We're equal.
We're equal now, and we can both enjoy sex the way God originally intended it to be enjoyed. And as I said, once again, develop that in those areas, and I guarantee you, it's going to be better and better. Like I said, my father used to really encourage me a lot. As I said, he was like in his 80s, and he still telling me, don't come over on Mondays. But he talked about sex all the time. Bill will tell you, he talked about it all the time. It became a very normal thing for him, and it was like a normal conversation. At first, kind of uncomfortable for me talking about it, but he made it very comfortable. Saying, sex is real. It's something we enjoy. So I began to understand that in those areas because it was always like a taboo thing. Like my daddy talking about sex. You know what I mean? Because in my consciousness, it was still something that was kind of bad. That was kind of like we're doing on the side, but not something that God really ordained. And you want to get it to the point, and then that way when you teach your children, then we can teach our children not against sex, but adultery and fornication. And we can teach them correctly rather than making them with a taboo about sex, because then they bring that into a relationship. All right, so, okay, wait for question in a few minutes. Back in the hands of the boss, Pastor Alfred and Noel.
Amen.